What about Alejandro Garnacho? Has he got lots of suitors?
Well, it looks like one in particular. Napoli were interested in signing him in January and they had interest in the summer. They've moved on to other targets. But Chelsea, that's been a long-standing interest. There were conversations that took place in January. Things have stepped up now. There's talks ongoing now between Chelsea and Manchester United. And this is a really important deal that United get right because they've been really active in the transfer market in terms of bringing in players. Now the priority is selling players. Alejandro Garnacho would represent pure profit from a profit and sustainability perspective. Previously, they were looking for around 70, 60 million pounds. I'm unsure they're going to get that right now because of a number of conditions. The fact he's been frozen out of the first team picture. He's not training with the first team squad. I know Ruben Amorim says he'll be reintegrated if there isn't the market value met by a club like Chelsea. But also Ruben Amorim said that Garnacho was looking for a new type of leader. He's looking for a new type of project. So you'd expect him to depart. Chelsea, yes, they have a number of wide players, but all these different wide players have a specific profile as well. We know Garnacho is a very, very talented player. Perhaps he needs the right manager and the right club. So I think this is a deal that could happen. Chelsea want to try and sign him before the end of this transfer window. I think he will depart before the end of this transfer window. I think he'll probably head to Chelsea as well.
OK, so you think Garnacho on the way out. Are Manchester United going to get Carlos Baleba in?
I still think this is a very difficult deal for Manchester United to do for a number of reasons. They spent a huge amount of money replenishing their front line, but their next priority is signing a central midfielder if they can. The reason why this is difficult is because United do need to prioritise sales. So far, there's not been a huge amount brought in. Yes, there's been the sell-on clause of the likes of Anthony Elanga. They've probably made around £20 million in terms of things like that, but unless they can get £40 million for Rasmus Højlund, they can get a good deal for Anthony, they can get a good deal for Jadon Sancho, they're not really going to be in a situation where they can really attack this transfer and bring in Carlos Baleba. The other factor is Brighton, they're not going to sell him on the cheap. He's arguably as good as Moises Caicedo was at that stage when Chelsea spent £150 million on him. Maybe not quite as ready as Caicedo, but you can understand the sort of figures that Brighton will be looking at for Carlos Baleba to depart. You wouldn't expect it to be anywhere short of 70, 80 million pounds. So for United to go after that, they need to do a lot of work in terms of outgoings over the course of the next few weeks.
Well,
I think it's going to be too problematic.
Are they going to get the famous five? Are they going to close the book on the famous five?
I think Jadon Sancho, they'll find an exit for him. I think it's going to be difficult to do a permanent deal, I think. But Borussia Dortmund are a club that are exploring the conditions of doing another deal to bring him in. I'm not sure whether or not they'll be able to get a permanent transfer for Jadon Sancho. But he's got 1 year left in his contract. There's the option of another year. So United could look to do something like a loan with an obligation to buy. Of course, they'll do a loan, but if there's a permanent element, Anthony, Real Betis want to try to sign him. They're looking at a loan. They don't think they can find the finances to do a permanent deal. But of course, as we've spoken about all transfer window, as we get closer and closer to the deadline, there will need to be compromises when it comes to the player and the club as well. So United may have to take much less money than they wanted in June, what they will take on the 1st of September to get rid of these players.